Hey everyone, Aegis here. Today we'll be going over a budget deck list for the beloved Blitz hero finally making her debut in the CC format, Ira, Scarlet Revenger. Big shout out to my locals who have been helping me put these lists together. You'll be able to find the list in the description down below. Ira is the quintessential example of what FaB players call a math deck, because her goal isn't to do anything flashy or disruptive, but rather to send better numbers than the opponent turn after turn, hoping to beat them in a grind game. If you're familiar with fighting game lingo, she is the Shoto of FaB, who rewards you for understanding the fundamentals of the game above all. If the idea of making careful blocking decisions and attack sequencing over a long game sounds fun, consider stopping by your local game store this coming weekend, November 1st to 3rd, for the game's 5th anniversary celebration, where you can get your hands on a copy of the hero. Ira as a hero is very much defined by her hero ability and how it interacts with her weapons, the harmonized Kodachis. These weapons may appear unexciting, only dealing 1 point of damage, but after your opponent has been attacked with them every turn for the past 15 turns, there's certainly nothing to scoff at. The ideal Ira turn you're looking for is to pitch a blue, then swing with both Kodachis, then finish with a 1-cost 5 power attack. You'll notice that every single blue card in the list costs 0, so as long as you've pitched a blue card, both of your Kodachis will have go again. Let's take a brief sidebar into FaB math. For most cards in the game, you can expect to get 3 points of value per card. For instance, you can attack with a head jab to deal 3 damage, you could pitch a card to attack with a Dawnblade for 3 damage, or you could block with a Rune Rager Swarm to block 3 damage. As a rule of thumb, each card in your hand can most of the time be converted pretty easily into 3 damage, and a big part of the game is finding ways to break this rule. Ira gets to break this rule for basically free. By pitching a blue card, then attacking with Kodachi for 1, Kodachi for 2, buffed by her hero ability, then spending the last resource on an attack, she has spent 2 cards to deal 8 damage, which means she got a whole extra point of value per card than the opponent may be getting. The fact that Ira gets to do this every single turn makes her a force to be reckoned with. Let's quickly go over the attacks, starting with the 1-for-5s. For the most part, you aren't expecting these cards to do much more than damage, but some of them have small upsides. If Torrent of Tempo hits, it gets go again, which may help you extend into larger turns. If Take the Tempo hits in a chain with 2 other hits, you'll get an extra card that you can play on your next turn. Pounding Gale's text is actually irrelevant, though it does have combo, which will be useful to keep in mind for later. Censor is a fun card where you can try to get a read on what's in the opponent's hand, or just name a power card to guarantee that they can't use that card next turn. Finally is Bingo. While the card's effect is rather underwhelming, as it's easy for most opponents to just give you whichever effect you didn't want from it, the art is so cursed that it inflicts extra psychic damage when you play it. It doesn't even need to hit. Next up are the extenders. These are the cards that help you deploy your hands beyond the basic 2-card 8. Cards like Bittering Thorns that give an on-hit to your next attack of +1 damage. Give and Take, which is just a simple 3 damage go again. And Razor Reflex, an attack reaction that can either buff a Kodachi to finish the game, or force over a hit to continue your turn. Finally, one of the most powerful singular cards in the deck is Flying Kick. This card is a little resource hungry, and doesn't fit your standard pattern of pitching a single blue, but if you can line up a turn like Kodachi, Kodachi, Bittering Thorns, Flying Kick, you've suddenly created a 4-card 15, assuming the Bittering Thorns hit. The blues are mostly uninteresting, as they're mostly there to enable the Kodachis every turn. You'll notice that all of them block for 3, and since your main turn cycle wants exactly 1 blue card, it's easy to block with any extras. A notable inclusion is Knives Out, which can buff both of your Kodachis. It may not be the most valuable play, but it can be a sneaky trick to get some extra damage in the late game. Finally, for the core of the deck are the defense reactions. Remember how I was talking about Ira getting 4 points of value per card? Well, the defense reactions do just that, but on defense. Both Sink Below and Fate Foreseen block 4 with some upside of fixing your hand. But Flick Flack can get interesting. On its own, it blocks for 4, but it also gives the next card you defend with, usually on the next attack the opponent sends, with +2 block if it has combo. Many of the cards in the deck, particularly of the blues, have the word combo on them, without any way to actually pull the combo off. Instead, they're just there to get this blocking buff from Flick Flack. This defensive suite, coupled with the massive number of 3 blocks in the deck, allow Ira to survive long enough to get those beautiful numbers she craves. Most of the equipment suite is pretty simple. Breaking Scales and Breeze Rider Boots offer a point of battle-worn block and have a small upside with your combo blues. If you draw a hand with many blues and the opponent doesn't give you a chance to block with them, these 2 cards could help you play them all out. Vesta the First Fist is a potent tool to enable flying kick turns without an extra pitch card. Mask of the Pouncing Lynx serves 2 main purposes. It's both a 2-block blade break, as well as a tool to extend a power turn. There's really only one card worth searching with it, and that is Salt the Wound. So if you see Salt early, consider pitching it to keep it in your deck for later. For situational cards, we can largely group them into 3 categories. Cards for decks where you need to be the beatdown, cards where you want to disrupt the opponent, and extra defenses. Double Strike and Hurl are useful in matchups where you need to be the aggressor, especially against Enigma. Beating Enigma is all about making sure you can deploy your whole hand on offense every single turn, so you can consider removing some D-reacts for these attacks with Go Again. Hand Behind the Pen and Smash Up are great budget disruptive options that can threaten the opponent's arsenal on hit, encouraging them to block it. Blue Flick Flack can be brought into matchups where you need extra D-reacts, like against Warrior and Assassin. The deck also features 3 sources of Arcane Barrier for Wizards, and also this Zephyr Needle. Needle is an interesting card that you should primarily bring in against matchups you don't expect to be packing big defensive cards. Because of Ira's ability, if the Needle is the second attack on your turn, it will be attacking for 3, which means it will only break if the opponent blocks it with something like Sink Below. This makes it ideal for matchups like Aurora and KO, who can't reliably break it. I've included some expensive cards in the Maybe board, so you can know what to be looking for when going to upgrade the deck. One of Ira's strengths is her ability to play these generic 2-resource 6-power attacks with great on-hits after her first Kodachi, bumping them up to a difficult-to-block 7-power. Mask of Momentum is another option that allows you to threaten to draw a card every time you present 3 attacks. With that, you're ready to grind your armory opponents down with the slow and steady value of Ira. Go forth and show them the power of Kodachi Kodachi Bingo.